Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand, and before anyone's wondering and looking and thinking, what the hell is Brad Pitt doing here on the United Stand? I am Kev. You usually find me on the fan forum. I usually have Ricky in my ear. I also do the van cams on the match day as well. It's great to have you on board. I'll be going through all your live comments. They are in front of my eyes, but we have got so much news to get through this evening. It is never quiet when it is to do with Manchester United. We've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe's era is fully underway. It's mad to think it's underway and the I's haven't been dotted, the T's haven't been crossed yet, but I think we all know that the FA and the Premier League are going to let this one go through. Sir Jim and the Ineos will get Manchester United the 25%, but it's amazing the actual progress that they are making at this moment in time. We've got the rumours of Dan Ashworth coming from Newcastle as the sporting director. Also news this evening, Jason Wilcox from Southampton. This is another positive step for Manchester United. And on the top of Omar Barada already coming across from Manchester City. This is looking like great times. We're also going to be discussing very heavily the story that's actually come out this evening, which is from the Daily Mail, Mike Keegan, stating that the Ineos group are actually looking at an option to rebuild Old Trafford. We know that there's lots of different options there available to the Ineos group and what they want to do, but it does look like they're going down that route. So we're going to be running a few polls. We're going to have a bit of fun. That's what we do. It's Thursday night here, 8 o'clock on the United Stand. I'm just having a look. King Kev in the building, says Paul Carter. Thank you very much for that. It's great to see so much love. And make sure you finger that like button because that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. But yes, as I said anyway, we've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos. The story that's come out this evening, which is it's pretty disappointing, is the fact that they're running this, they're not sure on Ten Hag. You know, what does that mean, even coming out with they are not sure on Ten Hag? You know, Ten Hag, we can laugh, we can say we're unbeaten this season. Yes, we're only in February, but Ten Hag, you have to judge him on when he's got his strongest 11. I personally believe he has got that now, and the team is starting to click. So why would Ineos be looking to pull the plug? You know, is this the media, you know, the witch art of trying to put out a story just because it's associated with Manchester United, you know? And we have had it here on the United Stand as if we are spreading malicious rumours. What I am doing here is actually commenting on reports that are coming out about Ineos saying that Ten Hag's job is not safe. Surely to God that Ten Hag would be at least trusted till the end of the season to see where Manchester United, what they can do, what kind of success they might actually be able to achieve, because a top 4 finish this season, I think would be very, very good for Ten Hag. And on the back of last season, to make 2 cup finals, win 1, the Carabao Cup, yes, not the most prestigious of trophies, but also to finish in the top 4 was, some would say, and I would subscribe to that theory, it was probably overachieving. And it was, you know, when you look on the grand scheme of things. But at Manchester United at the minute, there's plenty of positivity. I wanted to start with the negativity. You know, the people that are writing these stories that are saying that Ineos are already having second thoughts about Ten Hag. There's also been mentioned Brighton's Roberto De Zerbi, that he could be a candidate. And this probably, it kind of mixes in with the Dan Ashworth link, obviously has links to Brighton. But it is very, very exciting times for Manchester United. I'm sure some of the younger viewers will look and probably think, you know, can Dan Ashworth score 30 goals a season? You know, who is he? You know, and I get that. But I think for some of us that know how a football club should be run, and we look back at the way Manchester United used to be run, and that, for me, is the heartbreaking thing, that we find ourselves 19 years into a Glazer regime where we're actually looking and starting to applaud backroom moves that are going on. You know, it should never have got to this point. Manchester United was sustainable. It was only through the neglect of the Glazers that we find ourselves in this situation where we are applauding the likes of Omar Barada coming in, possibly Dan Ashworth coming into the setup as well. And we're looking and we can see the bigger picture because, yes, there are exciting times ahead. But like anything is a process with a football club. And of course, it will take time. What does Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth potentially bring to Manchester United? The main thing for me that they bring is the contacts. You know, the little black book. They will have people. There's already rumours and talks of them bringing in their people. And that's how it will work at Manchester United. I'm sorry I'm glancing down because I did make a few notes. I've not come unprepared. We brought the Louis van Gaal final facts to the Thursday night show. That's what we do here. But on Dan Ashworth, I plucked out a few names and we talk about recruitment-wise. And this is where the story tonight has annoyed me. That, you know, they are coming out and saying that Ineos, they don't favour Ten Hag, that they'll be looking to ship him on, they want to get somebody in. Surely Ten Hag will work better when he's got this kind of structure in place. Surely, it makes total sense. When I look at Dan Ashworth and the jobs that he's done at West Brom, at Brighton, obviously, clearly a fantastic job at Brighton, and with the FA as well, but the players that he brought into Brighton is a major, major thing, or the dealings that he had in this. Caicedo, 4.5 million. Cucurella, 15.4 million. Trossard, 15 million. McAllister, 7 million. Mitoma, 2.7 million. And Lamptey, 4 million. You know, you look at that and the money that they have recouped. I don't want to become this club. I'm not saying we want to be a selling club, but when you look at financial fair play and what United are going to have to adhere to, it just makes absolute total sense. Obviously, the work he did with the FA as well, it was brilliant, and a lot of people speak really, really highly. In comparison, when you look at how Manchester United was run, and this is why it should be exciting, I just mentioned before the Glazers, the Woodwards of this world, and the regime that we were in. You know, they were money men. That's all they ever were at Manchester United. And the Glazers have used United so long now as just a cash line that was free to use whenever they wanted to draw money out of it. They just rock up, press the button, thank you very much. And that's why the stadium and everything has been left in disarray, disrepair. And that's why we find ourselves at this moment of looking at a figure like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who actually seems to know what he's doing. And that's why it is so sad to see the club. We should never, ever have got into that state. The Ineos group have made more moves already behind the scenes than the Glazers have in 19 years at Manchester United. They've not even got their feet under the door yet, the keys for the 25%. And already you can tell that they mean business. So, of course, this is exciting times for Manchester United. I've just got a quick super chat there from Mario Franco. Said, just look at today's presser, mate. Erik Ten Hag makes a joke. No one laughs. Klopp says hi. Journalist laughs to death. Ange says, mate, people love him. Yeah, I do get that. And there will always be a certain agenda with Manchester United. The manager, a lot of people won't take to Erik Ten Hag, and a lot of it will come down to the fact that he is manager of the greatest club in the world. Another super chat, very quick, from Acid23. How are you, sir? Said, big up, Kev. Been too long since you've done this, but no blackboard. Excellent work, though, mate. Keep it up. Yes, I have had an upgrade from the last time I did a live solo show. It was Kev's Classroom, and no, I've been upgraded this evening. Bit of a promotion, shall we look at it. But loving the love in the comment section. Loads of likes firing in on the video. Please continue to finger the like button. It really helps Kev out. Jake Riley says, chill, Kev, you're doing well. Yes, I am under pressure. I just wanted to go back. Obviously, we will be discussing Ineos. We're going to get into the new stadium. I want to get a poll going so that we can get interactive and get you lot, the viewers, giving me your thoughts, because at the end of the day, the United Stand is your channel, and without it, I would just be sat here talking to absolutely no one. But we look at the money that Manchester United have spent, and since, what is it, 2005, since the Glazers took over, Manchester United have spent £2 billion on transfers. Again, this is something that Ineos, they need to get the right people in. They need to get the right people working with Erik ten Hag. And one of the main issues that I've had at Manchester United is I don't believe Erik ten Hag has had the help. I don't think he has been helped. I think he has been left to his own devices to a certain extent, which is never good. It's like letting a child go in a sweet shop and seeing a bag of Haribos for £100. You know, when you say, well, you can get them over in the other shop for £2. What are you going in there and spending £100 on Haribos for? You just left to it because I want them. All right, then, sound. I use that analogy because I always kind of use it when I think of Anthony and what went through the heads of Manchester United's hierarchy, or so-called hierarchy. You know, who issued that? Who said, you work away, 90 million, go and sign him? You know, when there was other players like maybe Elanga and that chomping at the bit, trying to get into the team, Palestre. But no, Erik ten Hag was allowed to do that. And I don't blame Erik ten Hag solely. One thing I will say, this kind of thing, well, it clearly is not sustainable, but one thing that will not happen in the future is purchases like that. It will not happen. Wayne Finnegan said, yes, Kev, you legend, could be legend, could be getting a bit of a low blow in. Said, Sir Jim making moves like Michael Jackson in the 90s. Exciting times ahead. One love, one United. Wayne Finnegan, thank you very much for the super chat. It's great for you to be in the live chat. Make sure you get your messages in. It's great to see so many people in here. I always get like crying emojis whenever Kev's on. I need to be more serious, Kev, don't I? But I go back to the point, £2 billion spent at Manchester United in 2005, and what we got to show for it. And this is where I say this is where the new structure at Manchester United is going to click into place, because somebody like Ten Hag might say, this kid, I want him, you know, pay whatever you want to get for him. Again, I've mentioned a few players at Manchester United. In the transfer market has just been diabolical. You think of Alexis Sanchez was on £14 million a year. Di Maria cost 60 million. Anthony I put on my list, 85 million. Lukaku 75, Pogba 89, Sancho 72, Memphis 31, Van der Beek 35, Harry Maguire even for 80 million. Two of the people on this list, Omar Barada at the time said at Manchester City, no, we're cutting this deal. Alexis Sanchez was deemed too expensive. The wages, when he goes into that dressing room, will upset the apple cart. And that's what I believe happened at Manchester United. You need a structure. You need a structure. You can't have somebody coming in on nearly £500,000 a week or whatever ridiculous it was. The same with Harry Maguire. And this come in a recent interview that come out from Omar Barada, where he claimed that Manchester United clearly overpaid on Harry Maguire. So that'll be an interesting one when Harry Maguire and Omar Barada meet at Carrington one day. All right, mate, you're not worth 80 million, you. But what I mean by that is Manchester City had that structure. Yeah? They had the structure and they had an Omar Barada, somebody above this and overseeing it, and saying to Manchester City in negotiations, when they got to a certain point, this player is not worth that. Look at his age, and when it gets to a certain point, we're out, because it's not sustainable. You're never, ever going to get your money back on him. And basically, is he that good? Is he going to improve the team that much? Just a few messages. Keep her lit, says David McBrin. What a name, David McBrin. One thing I did want to touch on as well. Something, I know I said this the last time when I addressed you, when I was in the classroom, and I said something about Ralf Rangnick. Ralf Rangnick obviously said that this team, this club, everything needed open heart surgery. So Jim Ratcliffe has officially started the heart surgery, and he's not even got the keys to the castle yet. You know, let that sink in. And again, I hark back to the start of the video where I'm saying it is absolutely great times at this moment in time, but this club should not have fallen to the depths it has for us to be celebrating stuff like this. But we have to, because we're getting a glimpse of where we might be. I want to get a poll kicked off very quickly. We're going to run it for a couple of minutes, so I hope you do get involved. Terence Roberts says, Kev, do you prefer the van or the studio? I don't mind, actually. I'll tell you one thing about the studio is there's a lock on the door and Steve is not here. So at the start, I don't have to deal with the absolute knobhead. So from that sense, the studio's lovely. Anybody that's been to the studio will know it's absolutely top notch. But for the first poll of the evening, on this fine Thursday evening, we are going to throw in, are you confident Sir Jim can make United competitive? So hopefully producer Greg can break that down. Can Sir Jim make United competitive again? And again, it comes down to Ineos, Brailsford, you've got Ratcliffe, Omar Barada, they're all in there now. They are making moves. And how successful can we be? You know, how long will this take? You know, this will be a journey. And it's all right for other clubs to be spouting all this, isn't it, all the time? They're always carrying on and saying it's a process. We've had it with Manchester City, we've had it with Arsenal fans, but I think that the big move is the Dan Ashworth one. And we're hearing conflicting reports that maybe over the next couple of days, this one could be settled, it could get over the line. Obviously, there's no smoke without fire when Fabrizio Romano starts to tweet stuff out. And according to him, Ashworth wants this move. And why wouldn't it? You know, you listen to Newcastle fans are not happy about this. And this is because they regard themselves, they have they're not the richest club in the world, because they've got the richest owners in the world. And they cannot foresee past that. You know, they've got their Newcastle Brown Ale tinted glasses on. That's what they've got on. You know, I even seen somebody take to Twitter today to say, you can have Dan Ashworth. The one person you wanted, you couldn't get. We will always laugh at you for that. And it was a video of Alan Shearer. And I'm like, these Geordies, man, honestly, had they been on the Nuki Brown Ale already? You know, Alan Shearer turned down Manchester United, yes. And as a teenager at the time, I was absolutely devastated. But Manchester United bought Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. United won a shitload of trophies. United won the treble, which Solskjaer scored in that. The rest is history. You know, and Alan Shearer gets to say that he played for his boyhood club. And at the end of the day, when I'm with, you know, if I was with my grandchildren and they were like, Dad, you know, show us your medals. You know, what did you win at Newcastle? Nothing, lad, you know. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? But let's have a look at this poll. It is ending in 1 minute. You can get voting. Can Sir Jim make United great again? We've had 600 votes on that. I'll have a little vote on that. It's heavily in favour at the moment of a yes. I'll come back to that in 1 second. Why I wanted to ask that question on Sir Jim Ratcliffe is because I think there's been a big sea change in Manchester United's supporters' thoughts of the Ineos group. I think a lot of people were sceptical when they first come in. I've seen a lot of tweets getting dug out and videos, and I'll be one of them. If anybody wants to waste the Thursday night digging back through, I think I would have at that time preferred a full buyout of a club. But I hold my hands up. I'm not going to say I got it wrong. But you look at the moves that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos group are making, and you would have to think that this is the start of something. And if it is the start of a strategy to the long-term buyout of Manchester United, then I don't mind waiting a few years, because at least you've got somebody in that owner who supports Manchester United. You know, that is a major, major thing. And hopefully one day we can all celebrate outside Old Trafford together when we get the news that the Glazers no longer have this stranglehold on the club. The poll is very shortly ready to close. Can Sir Jim make Manchester United great again? There we go. Yes, 77% of the United Stand community out in force tonight are saying yes. Few super chats there. Wilson Pereira, thank you very much for that. Sir says, it's too early to predict. Erik ten Hag gets the sack and I won't be sure about Sir Jim Ratcliffe making us great again. Summer window will speak volumes, selling firstly. I think you make a good point there because I don't expect there to be too much in the way of transfers this summer. Son Heung-min is in the chat. Wow. This is the effect that Kev has in the studio. He said, Kev, what about me this summer? Do you like me? I absolutely love you, mate. And if you ever want to rock up at Old Trafford and start smashing the ball into the net in the red shirt of Manchester United, I was going to say give me a ring, but it's no use letting me know. Just give Ten Hag a ring and let him know. Lewis Jackson said, it's Kevbridge. Yes, man. Thank you very much, everyone. And make sure to continue to finger that like button. Where am I going next? What am I doing? Just before I read the super chats out, I was on about briefly before this takeover that a lot of United fans were sceptical. And I must admit, there was some of my mates were on at me, and some of them could see the bigger picture. They didn't believe for 1 minute, and I did back down on that, and I did think, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's not a daft man. He's not stupid. He's a businessman. As much as that pains me to say it, yes, football clubs have become a business, and that's why you have the likes of financial fair play that you have to adhere to. So in that sense, I look at it, I take a step back now, and I think that, well, we have to roll with it. As Liam Gallagher once famously said, yes, we have to roll with it. This is where we are at this moment in time, and hopefully Manchester United can get back to being a top club again. Frank Underwood says, give the left-back Robinson from Fulham a chance. And $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Honestly, I'm very, very overwhelmed by your generosity and everybody that's in the chat. There looks like a lot of positivity in there. Remember, I don't usually do these live solo shows, so this is a first. It could be a last, as I said the last time, but we will just have to find out on that. Does Sir Jim Ratcliffe have the long-term goal of purchasing Manchester United? That was a question I was going to ask myself, and you have to think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants full control of Manchester United. You know, you read behind the scenes, there is backroom staff at Manchester United now saying that the moves that they are making behind the scene are just absolutely groundbreaking. You know, it's exciting times to be at the club. But one of the exciting things, and let me see if I can get this onto this now, we are going to discuss the stadium. So we are being told, this is Mike Keegan from the Mail Online, really good article this evening, a lot in it, so I will certainly have to paraphrase on this one. But when we're talking about a new stadium, you have to, it tugs at the heartstrings, man. It really tugs at the heartstrings. And there is a question to be asked. And in fact, I'll run this while we're on to this now. And we're going to talk redevelop or rebuild. Now, redevelop will obviously mean redeveloping Old Trafford, that great club. I was going to look behind them, but it's not on the screen anymore. It's changed over. The visuals have changed. Oh, sorry, just missed one thing on there. Sherlock has donated 20 memberships into the live chat. What a sensational move that is. Thank you very much for that. But we want to get a poll running on redevelop or rebuild. Obviously, redevelop will mean redeveloping Old Trafford, a bit like maybe Real Madrid have done with the Bernabeu. Rebuild, I think you've seen the plans, or you should have. Manchester United might be able to rebuild a ground basically next to Old Trafford, so it wouldn't need locating. I'm just going to read something out from the Mail Online. This was Mike Keegan has put out today. He says, in 2022, in a move some saw simply as an attempt to appease fans on the back of the leaking roof that we all know about, The Glazers asked the renowned designers of Spurs Stadium, Populous, to come up with options. These 3 were presented. So they had 3 options. So you imagine the Glazers have gone in and said, how can we stop the leaky roof? Now, I would have thought it'd just be a bit of silicone, get up on the roof, fill in the gaps. Let's crack on. 1 was to redevelop. The second was to knock down and build next door, while the third was to move elsewhere. The project is now in Ineos's hands and they are not wasting any time. Already there have been developments. The third option has been discarded. While no decisions have been made, the second option is currently viewed as the most favourable, although fans will be heavily, that's the word I'm looking for, heavily consulted. They will be heavily consulted. The second option of that, if you remember, if you were listening to me then, Kev's class, was the option to basically rebuild the stadium next to the one now. I go into this one with a heavy heart, but I cannot be an old fart. Listen, the poll is up there now. It says, what do you want to happen to Old Trafford? Rebuild or redevelop? So make sure you start voting on that now. The one for me, when I was asked this question, I remember when we first moved into the United Stand, the home of the United Stand, the studio, I was 100% against this. I said, no chance. That ground, I was like, no, I'm not having it. You know, I think of the Busby Babes, steeped in history. It was bombed during the war. You think of, you know, Duncan Edwards, Law Best, Charlton, Keane, whoever, Cantona, so many great players, Rooney, Ronaldo, whoever it may be. And I'm like, they've all played on that pitch. It means something. You know, we've still got the old tunnel. You know, there is something about Old Trafford, but no pun intended, it is old. And the thing is, it's never really been, it has been redeveloped. Obviously, we've got the North Stand, we did behind the goals, the East Stand, the Stretford end, we've filled in the quadrants, and we're basically at that point now where we've got the South Stand. Obviously, there's a railway line that runs behind that, and this is structurally where a lot of the issues have come in. They're on about trying to build over it, there's houses, there's loads of complicated stuff, which I don't have to worry about because it's not my job. My job is, you know, to talk to you lot, put the facts and figures there. But make sure you get voting on this. I will continue to speak, and I will continue to say that I was 100% no. Not a chance. You redevelop that stadium. I look at what a team like Real Madrid has done, for instance, and I look at that. And Borat style, I'm like, wow. Kev wants that. You know, if we can redevelop Old Trafford and get it looking like that, all singing, all dancing, then I'm all for that. I am all for it. And I would still like that to happen. But part of me just thinks it's a bit like, you know, your first house. You know, you have your first house, you make so many great memories. You know, I was engaged when we lived at the house, married, couple of kids in there. But sometimes you just have to move on. Maybe you need a bit more space. You know, you need, you know, bigger garden. You know, you need it modernising. You need somewhere a bit more modern. You can't be asked putting the hard work into this. It's better up to just to sell and go. Jan Gomez says, the theatre of dreams, not the theatre in my dreams, please. Put on your mankini, Kev, says Cameron Deal. Not doing that, man. This is a serious show here on the United Stand, and we are discussing the stadium. What do you want to happen to Old Trafford? Rebuild or redevelop? So, as I was saying, rebuild, it wasn't for me, but I speak to some of the younger fans sometimes. Even my son, or my eldest son, is 13, and I know for a fact that they look at these new shiny stadiums, the likes of Spurs, even that shithouse club Man City to an extent. You know, you would look at the Etihad and think, you know, well, why are Coldplay not playing at Old Trafford? You know, why you know, groups like that, and you're like, that's the only time that City sell out, by the way, is when Coldplay or One Direction play. You know, they're not selling out on a weekly basis for football reasons. I had to get that low digging. But Manchester United, Old Trafford, the main thing for me now is the Sir Jim Ineos thing is that it's been billed as the Wembley of the North, to make this kind of super stadium. And how the hell could you not be excited about that? I will quite happily sit back. I have got my memories of Old Trafford, of being stood on the Stretford end as a kid, pushed about and all that when the goals went in, falling on the floor and all that, whatever. I have them memories, and they are great memories. I just think now, for the next generation, the younger kids maybe, the ones that are coming through, the next generation that are going to be following this club, home and away, all over the place, they, for starters, they deserve a great club. They don't deserve, you know, what we have become since Sir Alex Ferguson left, the Glazers and all that, but they deserve so much better. And I think a stadium for the biggest club in the world, they should have the best stadium in the world. We're going to end this poll now. We've had 1,155 votes on it. Oh my God, talk about the closest poll you will ever see on the United stand. What do you want to happen? Redevelop 50%, rebuild 49%. And the news this evening that Ineos have they're testing the water and saying that they will consult with fans about the rebuild, because as I just read to you before from the Daily Mail, Mike Keegan is stating that the second option, which is to rebuild, and it's directly behind Manchester United, the car park and all the surrounding area where they can fit this stadium, it's basically just moving it to one side. That they are looking at doing that, and they will consult with fans. But I mean, if they're going to consult with the United stand community, I mean, where do they go with that one? I mean, 50 and 49%. I don't know where to go with that. It is certainly not a landslide, but Malcolm Moore says we need a new stadium as we are in a new era. Manchester United deserve a first-class facility. It's 2024. I think, listen, any of you that have been to Old Trafford will have seen it. We hear the stories that it's falling down, the roof's leaking. It could still be developed and brought into modernisation. It's just the cost implications of that, you know, and you look at it. That's really, honestly, I'm absolutely staggered by that poll. Maths is not Kev's strong point. Yes, I've obviously said something there. Kev, yeah, I'm getting all that. But, right, honestly, on the stadium one, I've said it tugs at my heartstrings, but I think for the best and for the future of Manchester United, we're looking at, you know, exploring other kind of avenues when it comes to revenue. The new stadium, it's going to be pivotal, you know, for the next 10, 20 years. And like I say, for me, for somebody a bit older like me, you know, don't listen to me. For me, I want to see the kids, the younger generation, and they deserve it. They deserve it more than anyone. I've just done the poll, new stadium, redevelop or renovate. Let me just see quickly what I was going to do here. The other one, with moving to a new stadium, now obviously it's only next to it. My belief, well, you're going to look at this, is that obviously, how do you recoup the money from a new stadium? Yes, they're looking at investors, they're looking to get money from the government or whatever, but there still needs to be money brought in. And one of the options would be the naming rights of the stadium. Now, I want to throw another poll up very quickly. Naming rights, would you sell naming rights? Now, the money that you get for the naming rights of Old Trafford, now don't forget this, it could be called anything then. You're opening yourself up to endless possibilities. But for the sake of, like the Emirates, like the Etihad or whatever, you know, and then just put it through the books and they say, yeah, we got $500 million or whatever for the naming rights, and then that goes into buying certain players and that. Would that bother you? We'll do a poll on the new stadium. So would you sell the naming rights of Old Trafford? And remember on this one, if we're only moving behind Old Trafford, the lasting thing for me personally would be, even if it moves, that it would at least remain as Old Trafford, you know. And don't any wise people be coming in and go, Kev, why don't we call it New Trafford? Yeah, good one. No, would you sell the naming rights? Because potentially you're going to have a situation where the club will look at this and the club will think, we could get an astronomical amount of money for the naming rights of Old Trafford. It's never happened. Never happened. Old Trafford has always been Old Trafford. And we've seen what Man United do. You know, the types of stuff they sell. They have a sleeve sponsor, for God's sake. You know, the kits that they wear in training are sponsored by, you know, different from Team Viewer. And there's all different kinds of sponsors. So it opens it up again for another revenue stream. But again, it does open you up to, you know, the names of the stadium. So would you sell the naming rights of Old Trafford? We've got a yes and we've got a hell no. Let me just see if I can get just what the chat is actually gauging on this. Now, there's hell no, no from Savage. I heard somebody say Stretford Park. Don't like the sound of that one. Old Trafford presented by United Airlines. Ineos, New Old Trafford. Again, there's so many possibilities that it could fall flat, but long term, you just know that this is such an easy thing. It has been spoken of before, and I was always surprised that the Glazers didn't do this because it's such a big thing that they'd sell it off. But at the same time, they're not the most liked people, you know, with Manchester United supporters, so they probably looked and thought, we don't want to really annoy them that much anymore. Theatre of Dreams, well, I suppose you could change it to that. Theatre of Old Trafford. Ray Cowley says, I would, but as long as it was a local business, etc. Yeah, but again, what if that could be some dodgy local business? We never know, do we? The 25% Trafford. I'm having a good look through these, folks, and the Devil's Theatre. Austin says the Devil's Theatre, eh? What does that sound like? Imagine rocking up to play a night game at the Devil's Theatre. Ineos Old Trafford, a few people are going with this now, and that's kind of the route that I was trying to push you towards, because I'm saying, obviously, somebody said Goldbridge Towers. I don't think they're going to rename it that somehow, mate. Yeah, Old Trafford. I think some people would like to keep it as Old Trafford. I think some people are probably saying Ineos, because that's probably how they can see this one going. Let's end the poll. Let's end the poll. And would you sell the naming rights of Old Trafford? Drum roll. Thursday nights, United Stand, 8 p.m. show. Would you sell the naming rights of Old Trafford? Hell no was 80%. Yes, 19. So right, now what you've done here, and I've set you up for a right one. This 80% of you, of the United Stand community that are currently watching the 8 p.m. show here on the United Stand, 80 have said that they say hell yes or hell no, not sell it. Hell no, 80%. Sorry, so yes, 19% said that they would sell the naming rights. Now, to them 19 people, I want to address the community here on the United Stand and say, you know, you have opened yourself up now. You have sold your soul. You are saying, take the money, and what you're doing by that, you could have the Apple Arena. Yeah, you could have the Amazon Arena. These are big companies that could potentially look to invest in Manchester United. And maybe a few in the chat are like, Apple Arena, Amazon Arena, I'm down with that. You know, if we get a ball of money and it's invested in the squad and all that, then fair enough. The Starbucks Stadium, you know, you could go down that route. Or there could also be a situation where you're at Old Trafford one day and Fred the Red does not run out the tunnel. You know, instead, it's somebody dressed as Peppa Pig. And the Peppa Pig franchise has only gone and invested and got the naming rights to Manchester United Stadium. It's the Peppa Pig Dome. You know, and what would you be thinking then? The 19% of people that just said that they would sell the naming rights of Old Trafford, they're not bothered about it. You need to look at these things, you know. You're opening yourself up to all kinds of possibilities. You know, forget Fred the Red. You've got Peppa Pig. You know, people doing pig noises in the crowd and that. I'm not down with that. And that's where modern day football, you know, that twist of the new stadium. They look great, the new shiny stadium. It looks like a spaceship or whatever. And yeah, the 19%, you just set yourself up for that one. I did have that one for you. Where else are we going with this one? Obviously, I will be touching on very shortly. We've got the Luton game on Sunday, so I know the presser was done earlier here on the United stand. It seems to be the usual injuries, but I will get into that in a bit. Jason Wilcox from Southampton, Director of Football. I've got that on my list as well. That's another key appointment that Manchester United are looking to, you know, put into the backroom staff. But on the new stadium, these Wizards saying, are these polls, are they serious? You know, I don't know what you lot are on tonight. Carmine Pacciano says the Devil's Dome. I think there was a shout for that before. Look, Pepper the Red says, Sally, hope you're well, Sally, one of the moderators for the United Stand. The United Stand moderators do a fantastic job in there. It really is a tough job. Even me, being the head teacher in the classroom, it's hard enough keeping onto this. Song Hyung Min is back in. What about selling and naming it Charlton Stadium? Not a bad idea, but we do have the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. I'm sure there'll be lots. The thing with Manchester United is there's so many legends attached to Manchester United. You could go through 10, 15 names off the top of my head. You know, how do you just put it down to one person and call it that? You know, we have the Trinity outside Old Trafford, which is Law Bash Charlton. You know, it's not just, you know, Dennis Law, it's not just Bobby Charlton. It's very, very hard to do that. Obviously, you could probably name it after Sir Alex Ferguson, possibly. But again, he's got a stand named after him. Somebody said the hellhole. Sim Games. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. Loads of chats. I tell you what, it's really got you going, this one. I did set the 19% up who said that they would sell the naming rights. So you are now stuck with the frightening thought that if one day the Peppa Pig franchise does come to Manchester United and Ineos and produce a ball of cash, say we want the naming rights to the stadium, then you will have to deal with that. And thank you again for the love that is being shown in the comment section. Hopefully this could become a regular occurrence. But anyway, let's have a quick look. Trafford Retirement Home, says Matt Hall. Honestly, man, Trafford Retirement Home. In fairness, you've not got a bad point there, because if you look at the players that Manchester United have signed, thinking they can just patch things up and kind of go along with the flow, you know, the likes of Schweinsteiger, and I liked Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic was a great player. But again, he didn't really fit the model at the time, would I say, with the age bracket. And this is the exciting thing at Manchester United at the minute. You know, forget about the boardroom shenanigans. You know, us as supporters, we should be getting excited what's happening on the pitch. And I think we are, because we've seen the iconic picture the other week. And a few people were saying, you know, that was the new United Trinity. You've got Højlund, Mainu and Garnacho, which is a little far-fetched. In fact, it's really far-fetched, you know what I mean? They're playing really well at the minute. And you've got an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. And for me, it's all about getting that back at Manchester United. I think we've had that identity. It's about getting the best in class, but also, once you get the structure in place, it's about identifying talent and bringing through the next big-name players, you know, the ones where we've made them into big players. You know, you can argue Wayne Rooney to an extent, but we give Wayne Rooney the platform at Old Trafford. Yes, he had the tools to do the job, but he went up levels when he come to Manchester United. Yes, he stood out at Everton. Fantastic player, absolutely warrior of a player. But when he comes to Manchester United, it does levels. When you're playing with Rio Ferdinand, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, and that's the team that we had at that time. So he was always going to flourish. You know, the same with Roy Keane when he moved from Nottingham Forest. You know, carried that team for large periods, comes to Manchester United playing with Paul Ince, the likes of Mark Hughes and that. And these players, you know when they've got it, and they'll come in and do a job. Gav Mack says, what does Gav Mack say? He says, hit that like button, guys, for our Kev. I would be absolutely thrilled if everybody who is in the live comments would hit a like, because this is history on the United Stand. This is the first time I've ever done a live video on my own in the live studio. We're gonna wrap up looking at Luton away. Luton away is obviously Sunday. Erik ten Hag has been in his press conference today. The one major blow possibly, we already know obviously about Lisandro Martinez, but the major blow could be Luke Shaw. Obviously Luke Shaw walked off the field at Villa Park at the weekend. Looked like an injury, but I'm hoping from what Erik ten Hag said that this could possibly be a precaution at the time, because Luke Shaw's a great player. And whenever I do a fan forum on here, the amount of people that slag Luke Shaw off, but I don't get it. I do not understand it. He's such a major part of Manchester United, and with Tyrell Malacia being injured, what the hell is happening with him? I don't have a clue. Mason Mount will obviously be injured because that's what he does. Tony Marshall, I think, has already checked out. He'll be going at the end of the season. He's just picking up his weekly wage, and then he'll be off. Gav Mack again says, great show tonight, Kev. This is what I want to see. Kev, you've been brilliant, says Lee Pinder. Big up, Kev. Well done. Give him a like. Yeah, like I say, it sounds wrong, but it is so right to finger that like button. The one I was going to ask you, well, I'll ask myself and I'll throw it out to you, if you just want to put it into the live comments. Ricky is obviously a big advocate for Scott McTominay, and because he scored the winner against Aston Villa, everyone's getting proper giddy. Take Bruno out the team, put in Scott McTominay, and listen, he come on, he scored a very important goal. He scored very important goals for Manchester United this season. I seen something the other day, I think, if you take his goals out, the goals that he scored, we would be, what? Is it 12th? Which, when you weigh it up, that there's levels, but I will have this out with Ricky again on a fan forum, because he will throw it back at me. He'll say that Scott McTominay, is secretly Zinedine Zidane's son. Zinedine Zidane has pictures of Scott McTominay in his wall and all that, and I'll be like, no, I'm not having it, mate. I am not having it. Scott McTominay is, for me, an impact player at Manchester United, and maybe there will be some people like Ricky that are saying, get McTominay, in the team against Luton. He scores goals, but for me, when he starts games, he's not effective. Do you take Bruno Fernandes out? Do you take Bruno Fernandes out for Scott McTominay because he scored a winner against, he has a, 10, 15-minute cameo role against Aston Villa at the weekend? Not for me, mate. I'm just not having it. Let's see. McTominay is a job saver, says Jake Harrison. And that, you know what, Jake? If I had a hat on, I would take it off to you. It's a very, very good point, because without him, and I said this on the last fan forum, actually, I said, without Scott McTominay's goals, I honestly think that Ten Hag would be on the brink, literally a dead man walking at Manchester United. His job would be in serious threat. But if we believe the reports that are coming out this evening, we're being told that Ineos are not sure of Ten Hag. So we've covered so much here on the United Stand this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to present live from the studio. The love in the comment section is something I will never get tired of. We've been talking about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the Ineos, Dan Ashworth. We're hoping that this might be announced over the next few days. Obviously, there's a compensation needs to be paid, and I can't imagine United haggling over such an important position. This is something that needs to be set in stone. And for me, the main debate that we have had this evening, which was so close and so interesting to hear all your views and to kind of read them in the comment section whilst I'm trying to, talk to you in the comment section, has been really good. But some really good points from everybody. the new stadium, it was so tight. You know, do we redevelop? Do we rebuild? It really is. It's one that is going to pull at the heartstrings. And I think it depends what generation of supporter you are. I think if you're maybe a younger fan and you've been to Old Trafford, you probably think, nah, you know, get rid of this place. I want one of them new shiny ones, you know, where you go in and it's lovely and all that, and fancy floodlights, you know, strobe lights at the outside and all that, so it looks like a spaceship. But it's great to see how close it was. We talked about naming rights of the stadium. It's been, let me just have a look and make sure I've missed no super chats, because I would be very annoyed if I left the studio and I had not read a super chat. Let's have a look. Oh God, yeah, there are a couple. Let's just get through them very, very quickly. Shaheen Carlina, I think I got that one right, said, I don't think there's any structure in the world that cannot be fixed while looking the same, staying at that same place. Kev, you're a legend. Thank you very much for your input. Chris Andromeda, yes, just took me a while to catch up there. My brain said, being from the US, I've always wanted to visit OT, but if it's dilapidated, it has to be updated, but I got to see it just once before it goes. Chris, if Manchester United do announce, I think it will take a while, obviously, to build a new stadium, but I would highly recommend that you actually get to a game at Manchester United if we are at the point where they announce that a new stadium will be built, because at least I'm in a privileged position to say I've been to Old Trafford, I've got the memories. Just go, even if it's once, if they announce that they are going to build a new one. Ray Cowley says, I would, but as long as it was a local business, etc. I think I read that one out earlier. Let me see, have we got any more left? Lee, sorry, that was the currency, said, evening, great show, mate. Honestly, Ineos will only name the new stadium after themselves. If they buy it, so sorry to all the hipsters for dreaming. Yeah, sorry, Lee, I don't even know whether you're from Yorkshire. I just felt the need to put on a Yorkshire accent for some reason. And I don't know why, because I hate Leeds. But it's been emotional. It really has. Stay tuned here on the United Stand. You've got everything coming up. You will have tomorrow your morning show, afternoon show, evening show. We get into the nitty gritty then on Saturday, and obviously Sunday is match day. I'll be back in the van doing the old van cam, so make sure you catch up on everything and stay tuned here. You know, forget about the rest. Stay with the best. You've been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This was the United Stand. Thank you, please.